Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders with Heart podcast. They have another incredible, heart-driven, heart-centered guest for you, my new good friend, Molly Adkins from Indiana, not far from me in Toronto currently. We get connected through an incredible community called the Serving Circle, sorry, by our good friend Tyson from Australia. And I can't stop saying how many incredible human beings, incredible heart-centered people I've met through that community. And Molly is one of those people. We're going to talk. She has a lot. She has a beautiful story, a great mission. We're going to cover that. Molly has lived for over 11 years in Japan and as a Japanese language business, as well as she's a health and wellness coach. She has a beautiful mission, which is she helps new teachers shine the light in the classroom. So we're going to uncover all of that. As I told you, there's so much to cover that we might need to do 2 or 3 episodes, but we're going to try to get as much as done today and make it in a fun way. So Molly, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Pleasure all mine. So let's start first. For people who don't know you, who's Molly?
Who is Molly? There are several different sides to me, and I love all sides of me, and that's the truth. I am a specialist in the sound healing area for sound for energy work. So I do sound healing. I'm also a yoga instructor, and I do
Wow.
Reiki. In addition to that, I've been in education for over 30 years,
Wow.
and I was teaching English in Japan for 11 years, and I've been in a classroom here in the United States for 19, and I am just now switching over into this incredible business of sound healing and really wanting to help teachers shine their light and be confident, in the classroom, especially those new teachers. The other thing that I'm also doing is when I was a teacher, I was a Japanese teacher. So I taught the language and culture, and I have some online courses now. I lived in Japan for 11 years, so I have a lot of background in that area with the culture and all that. So many different sides to me. I was a music major as an undergraduate,
Wow.
so I sang opera while I was
Amazing.
in. Then I went to Japan and I retrained my voice and became a Japanese folk song singer. So
Oh,
I have,
wow.
yeah. So I've sang, on national TV in Japan as a
Whoa.
Japanese folk song singer. Yeah, crazy.
So
And I did my master's while I was there in ethnomusicology. So
amazing. So does
many
that
facets.
mean you're gonna bless us with a little bit of opera singing live today?
I don't sing opera anymore. So sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, that's gonna be for next time. Okay.
Maybe.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's incredible. Wow, you've had such an incredible, colorful, and full and rich life. Wow, that's amazing. Life is all about accumulating not just material things, but most importantly, experiences. As far as I'm concerned. And wow, that's amazing. So we're gonna
Yeah.
cover all of that in a moment. But first, as I said, it's all about getting to know you as a person. Tell us, Molly, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what makes me happy? What made me happy this morning, and this happens at every one of my yoga. I taught a yoga class this morning, and all of my yoga classes, I bring my sound healing instruments. And at the end of the class, during Shavasana, the final resting pose, I play my crystal singing bowls, and I use my voice for healing and buffalo drums and all these cool things. And at the end of class, just seeing the clients, the students that experienced the yoga and the sound healing, and how settled they look, how happy they are, and just that being able to bring that peace and calmness to my clients. That makes me happy. Really
Oh
does.
yeah, can imagine. Now, what makes you smile?
What makes me smile? My cats.
Oh yeah. How many do you have?
I have two cats.
Oh,
I have
wow.
one in particular that is just all full of shenanigans all the time. He makes my life very exciting, let's just say. Does
I
all
can
the things that
imagine.
you can imagine cats do. Yes.
A bundle of joy and happiness, I'm sure. Yes.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
We have a dog, and the dog is amazing. Brings the family together. It makes us so much happier, for sure.
Indeed.
Now, tell us, Molly, what makes you come alive?
Come alive. What
Hmm.
makes me come alive? Wow. The thing that makes me kind of come alive and come back into myself is that I love to hike. I just love to
Hmm.
go hiking. And
Wow.
when I just love to go out into the woods, and just be part of nature. And that really makes me feel alive and part of the world and part of the energy. And
Hmm.
yeah, that I just love that so much.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, what makes you sad and angry?
um, what makes me sad and angry? What makes me sad and angry? I guess when I'm thinking back to my classrooms when I was in the high school, and there's lots of things that made me sad and
Teachers,
angry.
teachers,
Teachers,
boring
yes.
teachers.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Homework.
yeah, I love all my students, but
Yeah.
my heart always went out to all of the kids, and
Hmm.
just saying how challenging it is for the kids these
Sure.
days, and there's so many, you know, life is so different from when we were in high school, or
Sure.
and with the technology, and just being connected is a wonderful thing, but being overly connected can be really overwhelming for these kids, and just seeing how much anxiety and depression and those
Yeah.
challengings, those that makes me sad. Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
imagine. I can relate to that. Do you miss those times?
Yeah. Oh, which times are those? Teaching side or being a high
No, no,
school student myself?
no. The times with no technology, just simple life and all that, more connected in a real way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for being able to just connect and look each other in the eye, and hanging out, without having to look at our phones, and loving. I love technology, no doubt
Sure.
about that. It's really cool to be, oh, I don't know what that is. Let me look that up, and being having
Hmm.
that at your hand in your hands all the time. But I feel like we've lost a lot of what's the word, knowledge, in a way. Like, I don't remember a lot of things because I have my phone, because it's so easy just to look things up. I don't have to Nobody has to remember anything anymore. So yeah, I
Being
do
like,
miss that.
yeah, especially we lack this real human connection, and also we becoming almost like slave to our phone. The first thing that we do
Yes.
when we wake up is grab the phone. Even sometime middle
Yep.
of the night, you wake up, the first thing you do, grab your phone to see what's going on. It's owning us now, and that's really, I don't like that.
Yep, absolutely. It's addicting for sure.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah. Now, what scares you?
What scares me? Oh.
The dark, spiders?
Yeah. uh, Gosh, you know what? The first thing that came to my mind,
Yes.
it's kind of funny, but the first thing that came to my mind was I went hiking in the um, Blue Ridge Mountains a couple months ago, and I had I was just out in the mountains, and
Mm.
I walked for an hour just out on this trail without seeing a person, nobody, for an hour by
Wow.
myself out in the middle of nowhere. The trail was there, but then I thought, what if something happened to me? And it was just around that time there were bear sightings and things. And I had like my whistle and my bells and, the things to make sure that I wouldn't, if a bear came in the area, I would be okay. Let's hope I would be okay. I don't know. But being that like so out and remote and by myself, and that that feeling of being just such a small spot in this huge uniform
Sure.
universe,
Hmm.
that was a little scary. Yeah.
I'm sure it makes you really realize how small we are in the grand scheme of
Mhm.
things. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, what would you say is your personal superpower?
My personal superpower. My superpower is that I am an empath.
Mm,
So I connect with my I connect easily with people, which is great. I can often, as a teacher and as a sound healer, I can read people pretty easily, and
mhm.
I feel what they're feeling. I'm also very intuitive, so I get downloads or hits. I don't know what you want to call it,
Whoa.
but I know things about people that yeah, you might not normally be able to figure out, I guess.
That's amazing.
That's definitely my superpower.
That's
Yes.
awesome. So, being an empath, is that something that you're born with? Is it something like any skill that you get to learn and improve over the years?
Yeah, it's something you're born with, something you're
Mhm.
born with. So it's like, highly sensitive person, just um, yeah, exactly what the words are, sensitive to everything that's around, all the energies that are flowing through the room or the wherever you might happen to be. So picking up on those and having that ability to read people's body language, facial language. And that was one thing that was great in the classroom, was because I could look out at my classroom and go, oh, that person, that person, that person, I need to be careful with them today, or I need to
Mhm.
check in with them today, and that was great as a teacher, for
Yeah.
myself. I actually didn't even know that I was an empath. I didn't know that that was a special ability until the last few years.
Mm,
And I would also often feel this incredible overwhelm when I was at the school and had no idea why. And so I started to create these strategies to protect my own energy and protect myself in that way, so that I wouldn't
mm.
take on all of that stuff that's flying around all the time. Yeah.
Wow. So, at what point did you realize that you had something different, unique, and special as for being an empath? Was it something that you realized just like that at a given moment, or it started to become more and more obvious to you over time that hey, I have something unique and special?
Yeah, it was actually a friend of mine that said, she was like, "Well, I just think you're an empath." I was like, I don't even know what that is. I've never heard that word
What
before.
is that? Yeah.
What is that? So so it was kind of like that moment when she's like, you're an empath. You need to check this book out. Look into a little bit more. And I did. And you know how they have those little quizzes about, are
Hmm.
you, blah, blah, blah. So I took
Yes,
this
yes.
quiz. I took this quiz. Are you an empath? And there was like 20 questions. If you answered yes, and there's a range of, as there is always everything, how empathic are you?
Mm.
I answered yes to 19 of the 20 questions. So
Whoa.
I'm very empathic.
Grand slam.
Yes. And the funny thing is I look back on my life and think about all those like things that happened over, when I was young.
Hmm.
And, people are like, oh, that's silly. Don't think of, that's not right. That's not true. Or even as an adult, I would pick up on things and tell people, and they're like, oh, no, no, you're just, you're being oversensitive. That's always one of the things. You're a crybaby. Oh my gosh. I used to cry all the time. I still cry, actually. I still cry all the time because I'm sensitive. Yeah. And that's okay. It's a great thing. I'm happy to be an empath.
Absolutely. Now, we're gonna talk about empath in a moment, but first I'm gonna ask you some fun questions. You know,
Okay.
when we're kids, especially in primary school and middle school, everybody asks us, parents, teachers, friends, family, so Molly, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
I wanted to be a singer,
Oh
which is
wow.
not far from what I became, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a singer. I actually wanted to be a rock singer. So
Oh.
a little bit different than what I'm doing, but I still, am blessed
Mm-hmm.
to be able to use my voice and in sound healing
Absolutely.
and yeah, so
That was
good.
awesome. So when you were in school yourself as a student, what was your favorite subject?
You're gonna know this one. Music, of course.
Oh wow. I would have never guessed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was in band and jazz band, and I was in the choir and show
Hmm.
choir, and that's all I lived for were my
Awesome.
music classes. Yeah.
And what was your least favorite subject in school?
Yeah. It's a toss up between math and history, which is funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a hard time with numbers and
Yeah, me too.
memorizing historical facts.
Hmm.
Now I love it. Now I really
Yeah,
enjoy looking
exactly.
back and
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, let's move forward. Looking back from the time you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say it was very linear? Once you get into one line, it was straight sailing, smooth forward, or was it like turns and twists and turns and twists, like a roller coaster? How was your
Oh,
path?
yeah, definitely a roller coaster. And there's no doubt about that.
Those are more
Yeah.
fun, right?
Right.
To be for a good fun ride.
Sure thing.
so,
Definitely a roller coaster.
so tell us about your path, how you get to where you are now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I started, I loved music and I started college. And, I was always told you can't make money off of music. Don't be a music major. That's, you just, you can do that on the side. Those were the messages I
Yeah.
got. And
Hmm.
nobody in my family's ever does music, and so 4 years of college and I changed majors probably every semester because I wanted to do music, but I've been told you can't do that. You shouldn't be doing that. Finally, my senior year of college, I became a music major, which
Oh,
then I
wow.
had to add on an extra year to be able to finish all the requirements. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that's where I started. And in college, I became interested in Japan.
Oh, wow.
I Yeah, and that's where one of my Japanese professors told us the class about teaching jobs in Japan. So I applied. Next thing I knew, after graduation, I was in Japan, and that's where that
Wow.
kind of all started. And I really loved because I was a music major. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to learn about Japanese music, and so I found a teacher for Japanese folk song, not even really knowing what it was. It was just like, it
Wow.
just seems like that would be really cool. I want to sing. I did instruments before that, played the koto, which is a 13-string zither, like harp-like instrument, and taiko, the drums, and shamisen, and different instruments, but it was always the voice that called me in. So teaching English, studying voice or with this teacher, and completely the traditional way, right? So it's not like, Western style voice lessons where you go to a school or a little room and you play the piano and, vocalize and that type of thing. It's not like that at all. I went to this teacher's house. He brought me in. He didn't speak any English. I hardly spoke any Japanese at that time, so that
Oh,
was
the
a
best.
it was awesome, and it was rote memorization. So there's the 5-line staff is
Hmm.
not available for this type of music. So he would sing a line and I would sing it back. He would sing it and I'd sing it back. And he'd be like, no, that's wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. That's wrong. You're still doing it wrong. Do it again. And so that was my path when I got started with that. And I kept working with the music and changed my voice really to from this opera singer to a folk song singer. And that's when I decided to do, oh gosh, he would put me in these contests. They were crazy, crazy things. Me against
Wow.
all Japanese singers, and
And I'm sure
amazingly,
you kicked their butt, right?
I'm tongue tied. Yes, actually,
Ah, sus.
I, ooh, yeah, I ended up going to national competitions, starting at
Wow.
regionals and went up the ladder. I didn't place at nationals, but I feel pretty proud of being in, in the top rank there for a year or two.
Must
So
have been
that,
quite an attraction to see this, American woman singing and
yeah,
Japanese folk. That would have probably attracted a lot of interest from
yes,
Japanese people in the media and all that. Wow, must have been
oh yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I was on
Wow.
some TV shows and radio as well. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I did my master's in ethnomusicology and really studied the voice, the singing voice, comparing, my voice with a native Japanese person singing the same type of music. And is
Wow.
it, how authentic is my voice, and so that was a pretty incredible, fun research to do.
Do you have any videos
Yeah.
of those on YouTube? Because I would be very interested to see those. And I'm sure other people would be too.
Yeah, actually, I do.
Ooh.
I do. You can search my name. Yeah, I do.
All
A little
right,
bit,
cool.
not a whole lot.
Awesome.
They might be a little old, but yeah.
Wow,
Um,
that's incredible.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so from there, I came back to the States, became a Japanese teacher, kept doing all this singing here and multicultural fairs and, Japan festivals around the States. And then about 5 years ago, I started taking a yoga class, and I fell in love with the whole, yeah, the whole idea behind yoga and sound healing. That's where I
mhm.
was introduced to sound healing and the crystal singing bowls. And I absolutely fell in love with it because things were crazy at that time in my life. Despite, I'm talking about all these things I accomplished, but I was having a hard time,
Can
staying.
imagine.
It was a tough
Wow.
time in my life. So yoga brought me out of my depression
Mhm,
and that sadness that kind of floated
mhm.
over me. And that's also when I learned that I was an empath, and I started to get a hold of that side of me, and it really saved me, really did.
Oh yeah.
And so that's where I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been beat over the head all these years of you need to do music, you need to sing. And so here I am from that, those many years ago when I was said I wanted to be a music major and I wanted to sing. I'm
Hmm.
finally stepping into those shoes and
That's amazing.
using my voice to heal.
That's amazing. Quite a wonderful journey. Like, I'm fascinated by Japan ever since I was a kid. And, it's funny you mentioned you taught English in Japan. I almost went there myself back in 2007. I had just finished graduate from college. And I even applied for a company at the time. I went to their interview session, all that here in Toronto, a company called Nova. But it was a blessing in disguise because that was the
Yes,
moment that Nova was about to implode. I was just
yes.
about to sign everything. And at that time, something else happened that completely took me in another direction. I was between three options. One, going to Japan, teach English, submit my application for law school, or and none of that happened because one day during lunchtime when I was working, one day I went to a bookstore and a book was almost calling my name. Come here, come here, come here. And that book was The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Have you heard of that book?
I have not read it, but I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a book that basically teaches you how to build an online location independent lifestyle business. So once I read that, I could not put it down. I devoured it, and one day I finished it, and I forgot about the law school application. I forgot about the going to Japan, and I started my own online business, and that took me a new direction around the world. But I did, I want to because I also taught English. Well, I went to China as a football coach, soccer coach. I did that.
Interesting.
Football is my religion, my passion. So I did that in China, and because me being the multilingual guy, I also taught not only English but Spanish and French as well. Every level from kindergarten toddlers to university doctors, nurses. So I'm, it's very interesting to see how people learn in different countries. So you living in Japan, what would you say was what was the number one thing that you loved the most about living in Japan?
Mm. I think it's the respect that people have for each other.
Absolutely.
And yeah, they're always conscientious of what's going on around them,
Hmm.
you know, and really, yeah, really thinking about others. Um, as a simple example, if you go into a room, if you're in Japan and you go into the room and there's not enough chairs around the table or something,
Hmm.
almost everybody will be like, oh, here, let me get you a chair, and you figure it out, and they move over and you fit you in, and you're part of the group, and it's all, you feel really welcomed.
Oh yeah.
But that's not how it is here. I'll never forget,
No.
like, not at all. I'd go into the teacher's room, and they're all sitting around the table and talking about whatever it happens to be. Even like our business meetings or something, and for our department, they're all talking, and I'd come in and not even an acknowledgement, like, oh, hey, Molly. Like, can I get in here? I'm part of the team here, so it's,
Hey guys,
that
I'm
kind of
here.
thing.
I'm here. you
Right.
know.
And I'm sure they knew I was there, but it's just not like on that tip of their movement to, they're
Yeah.
not thinking about others in that respect. If when I said, hey, can I get in here? They're like, oh yeah, yeah, sure. Come on over. It was fine. It was not a big deal, but
Mhm.
that idea in Japan, if they're always thinking about each other. Yeah, I
You know,
love that.
I only got to spend 2 weeks in Japan, but in those 2 weeks, I was numerous times completely blown away by by the kindness and the gesture of people. They would go way over and beyond anything I've ever experienced. It would take an hour for me just to share those experiences, but I'm not going to do it now. But we can do another episode just sharing experience on Japan. That would be fascinating. But I was completely blown away. And I'm not talking just about them when you enter into a business, bowing you and things like that. Anywhere you go, they would go absolutely over and beyond in ways that would always make you completely embarrassed, in a good way.
Yes. Yes, so true. It's like, oh no, we really don't have to do it. They'll go that far.
I will
Yeah,
just
yeah.
share one thing with you. Me and my buddy, Friday night, 5 p.m., Shinjuku Station. You know how busy that place can get, especially on Friday afternoon. So obviously, none of us speaks any Japanese, and they don't speak, English. So we were trying to get a ticket to go somewhere, and there was a guy at the booth selling ticket, prime time, rush hour, no communication. What he did completely left both of us speechless. He closed his booth. I mean, he got off. He didn't even close the window. He had stash of cash, stash of tickets. He just left. He took us by the hand, literally. We walked for
Yes.
5 minutes until we could find someone that speaks English. I'm not kidding.
That's crazy. That's
I was like,
amazing.
oh my god. I was like, what is he trying to do? And finally, when it was, oh my god, we are both completely speechless and completely embarrassed. I mean, I've had that happen so many times.
Yes.
Wow, no, Japan is truly a special place. And one thing that I don't, maybe you can tell me if that's, I mean, I know it's true. As I told you, football is my religion, soccer. And during the last World Cup in Russia in 2018, there was common scenes after the game. The Japanese fans would go around the stadiums and picking up all the trash. You know,
Yes.
doesn't matter whether it was among the Japan where the Japanese fans were, but and that because that was very contagious. It even inspired other fans to do the same. And I started digging into that. At the time I was living in China, and China's the complete opposite. you know.
Mm.
So and I learned that in Japan the first 3 or 4 years of education for a child, they don't teach them anything about school or anything, writing or anything. They teach them only about how to be civilized and be a good human being. Is that true? Did you notice that as well when you were in Japan?
I don't know about those first 3 days of school, but
No, no, not 3 days, 3 years. The first 3 years,
oh, the first 3 years.
they
Oh,
focus only on teaching them manners and being good,
be
civilized
good.
people.
Yeah,
Mhm,
good citizens that
mhm,
definitely are focused on that.
mhm.
No doubt about that. I've definitely would notice that people would take care of the area around them and very conscientious of nature and being kind to nature.
Hmm.
And even I'll never forget my first day at work. At the end of the day, I was working in the international division for, what was it? In the prefectural government building, and I was an English teacher, and I was sent out to different schools to teach for a week or two each. But anyway, my first day, the end of the day, I got up from my desk, and I had all my things on my desk that I'd been working on. I was like, perfect, I'll just leave it here. I'll pick it up in the morning. And I was like saying goodbye, everybody. And I'm going out the door, and my direct boss came running over. He's like, clean up your desk first. I was like, what? He's like, you always leave your desk cleaner than it was when you started. Or, you have to pick everything up. Everything has to be neatly put away before you can leave for work. That was a huge lesson for me. Huge lesson. Yeah. And I still do that today. Like at the end of my day, when I'm working, even here at home, I clean up my desk before I finish for the day, and I, don't leave things out. It was a huge lesson.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say was the one thing that you couldn't stand about living in Japan that really got on your nerves?
Oh, um, gosh, something I couldn't stand. That's a hard one. Oh, I loved so much about it. I guess kind of a weird thing to talk about, but here we have like rules on where you can smoke cigarettes and can't
Mm-hmm.
smoke cigarettes, and that was, and it may be different today because because I came back from Japan in 2000, so it's been a few
Oh,
years.
wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
It's been a few years, but at that time there was not, it wasn't really strict on where you could and could not smoke. They might have a little area, but it wasn't always followed. That was the one rule that wasn't always
Mm-hmm.
followed. And this is my personal observation. People might have a different feeling about it, but yeah, that was a big,
Yeah. You know, one
yeah.
one thing that people, especially those that have lived abroad, have challenges with coming back home is this reverse cultural shock. Would you say
Yes,
that you had that coming back from 11 years in Japan back to the US? I've had it
absolutely.
after 5 years. I just spent the last 6 years in Asia, Thailand, China, and Hong Kong. And when I came back, I said, I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to get back. I don't belong here.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I did have a lot of culture shock.
Hmm.
Even to the point where my family would be like, Molly, this is the way we do it in the States. And I was like, well, I know, I grew up here, remember?
So to relearn again, think certain things.
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah.
What was the biggest cultural shock, reverse cultural shock you had when coming back to the US?
Um, Gosh. I think it was the number of choices we have here in the States. Like
Mm.
you can choose anything, do anything. I mean, even going out for a meal, it's like, in Japan you order a salad and you get a salad with whatever they decide to put on it, with whatever dressing they decide that goes on it. That's just, you get the salad. But here it's like, oh, what kind of dressing do you want? What do you want, the chicken? Do you want the beef on that? Do you want, are croutons okay? It's just like so many choices.
That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I don't go to Starbucks ever again because they have all these crazy, exotic names. I said, listen, I just want a coffee. Give me a coffee. Do you want it? Well, I don't even bother with the names. Just give me a cappuccino Italiano and say, okay, what do you want? What kind of grains? I said, excuse me, just give me a damn coffee. That's all I want. you know,
Just coffee. Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which part of Japan were you mostly living?
I lived in Gunma Prefecture, which is the middle of Japan from all sides. So
Oh, wow.
it was one of the few prefectures that it was completely landlocked. So there was no water on either side, but right in the middle of the mountains. Beautiful location. I was there for 5.5 years, so exactly half of my time. And then
Wow.
the other 5.5 years, I was living in Tokyo when I was doing my master's degree.
I
Yeah.
just love Japan. So you lived both in the countryside and in the big
Yeah.
city, Tokyo. What would you say was the major? What was the thing that you really loved the most about? I mean, what was the number one thing that you loved most about each one? The countryside and living in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah. I guess living in the countryside, I've already expressed how much I love to go hiking and that type of thing.
Hmm.
And I was in the mountains, and so it was really easy for me to just get on a bus and go up into the mountains
Sure.
and get off at a certain stop and take some hikes and see the monkeys and just really cool things. That was really easy to do when living in Gunma.
Mhm.
And then, but in Tokyo, Tokyo had more of the cultural,
Mhm.
going to museums and that type of thing. And so it had, they both had their um, their advantages
Mhm.
for sure.
So in the meantime, you became fluent with Japanese, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I studied pretty diligently.
Hmm.
I was able to pass the Japanese national was it Japanese proficiency language
Oh wow.
test? Yeah, the highest level. So it's
Hmm.
it's about the same level as a Japanese high school graduate. So the number of characters that you know, number of vocabulary and grammar and that type of thing.
Did you take classes or just learn it by speaking with friends around you?
Mostly just on my own. I did not go
Mhm.
to a formal lessons. I had my own, my own unique way that I wanted to study. I had some books in Japanese about Japanese music that I wanted to read.
Mhm.
So I used those as my teacher and say, I don't understand, I don't know what this is, and that's the way I got started. So
So
I
yeah.
I was yeah. So I was studying because I had very specific goal in learning
Mhm.
about Japanese music, and so I had some books that I wanted to read about the music in Japanese. So I'd bring
Wow.
those on my own. I would be reading those and bring those to a tutor, and it was good. It was a good way to
That's
learn.
amazing. That's amazing. So now you're able to read a normal Japanese book and write in
Yeah,
Japanese, no problem. Wow, that's
no
amazing.
problem. Yeah.
You know, when I was in China, I went with all the best intentions. I wanted to learn Chinese, Mandarin, to make Chinese my lucky number seven. You know, I speak six languages. The only two languages I learned in school are English and French. All the other four, I learned it without taking a single class, but mostly they're all like, Latin languages, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, because they're very related.
Yeah.
Like learning any Asian language, especially East Asian, like Japanese and Chinese or Korean, it's a completely different animal because mostly, at least for Chinese, it's a very tonal language. Plus, you have to learn all these characters. You have like, I don't know, 20, 30,000 characters to learn in order to be able to function properly. So a time came that I said, you know what? It would take me 5 years of full time, 5, 6 hours a day, and I don't think the ROI would be worth it for me. So I just stopped, and instead I just had this app on my phone that was just translating, and whenever I needed something to do for business, I just hired a translator. That was the best way to do it because I would, even though I wanted to, because one thing I love when I travel, I don't stay long in the major touristy place. I like to go in the off the beaten path and try to communicate with the locals, live like a local, see the locals, because that's the point of traveling, not to be with the same people, the same type of lifestyle, that you can get here. I wanted to be able to communicate and conversate with the Chinese, even travel around the country and read Chinese history books. But unfortunately, I couldn't because the language barrier was way too steep, and it wouldn't be worth my while. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I went over with the intent of learning the
mm,
language. That was one of my goals. So
mhm.
I did not I wouldn't even go to a McDonald's in Japan. I was like, I refuse to speak
Ooh,
English.
awesome,
I
awesome.
refused. So I was, yeah. And I knew that, I also knew that my end goal was to get into a university or
Mm.
master's degree there. So I knew what I had to get done to be able to do it. And that was, for me,
Oh
that
yeah.
was using the language to be able to study the music, you know.
Let me ask you a question about something that is very popular around the world, which is Japanese food. What were your thoughts? What were your How did you feel about Japanese food prior to going to Japan?
Oh, before going to Japan, I love Japanese food. I actually was a waitress at a Japanese restaurant
Oh
when I was
wow,
in
okay. So good preparation, okay.
yeah. So yeah, I love Japanese food. It's
for
amazing. Yeah.
for me, before going to Japan, yeah, I like Japanese food, but I couldn't muster eating raw fish. I had never tried sushi prior to going to Japan. So I went with my good friend of mine, and for the first week, he was always telling me, "Let's go to get sushi." So I said, "No, I can't, I can't, I can't." And finally, around the second week, I said, "Okay, stop being so difficult. Try it one. Be open minded." So one morning, we went to the Tsukiji market in Tokyo, and after that, seeing all this amazing, options around, so we said, "Okay, let's go." We went to one of those sushi places, and I swear to you, Molly, after that I became addicted. I did 180 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner. Let's go
I
to a
love it.
sushi bar. Let's go to a sushi bar. So much that at the end of the trip, he started calling me, "Hey, sushi, what's up?" That became my nickname.
I believe it. So you ate the sushi at Tsukiji.
Yes.
So you went to the premium location, of
Oh yeah.
course.
So amazing and so inexpensive. When I
Yes.
came back, I went to so-called premium Japanese restaurants in town. You pay like crazy, like $50. It's not even worth nothing. I mean, I almost walked out. In
Yes.
Tokyo, to go to any places like for $10, 1,000 yen, you can stuff your face of the primest sushi you can imagine.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that about
The food
Japan.
in Japan is
I want to go
the food
back.
the food in Japan is simply divine, as far as I'm concerned.
Indeed. Indeed.
I miss that. Oh wow. So, what was your favorite food in Japan?
Oh, it was definitely sushi, hands down. Hands
Okay.
down. Yeah. I think the next, like unagi, sea eel. There
Mhm.
was, oh my gosh, there was this great place in Gunma where I was living at
Mm.
first that they would grill the eel outside on these amazing grills,
Oh yeah.
and then they only had takeout, so you could order it
Mm.
and you take it home. It was like on rice with that wonderful sauce, like soy sauce, sweet type sauce, the unagi sauce. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. That was definitely another one I absolutely love. I
Oh
still
yeah.
crave that.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to. One of the first place I want to go is as soon as I can is go back to Japan. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. We've talked for like almost 20 minutes just on Japan. We can do an entire show just on Japan. That's amazing. Wow. Okay, let's move forward now. I'm sure you heard the saying, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves on a daily basis between the two ears. So when you, Molly, had to change your story to change your life, how did you do it? Did you do it through friends, families, mentors, books, videos? So tell us about the process, how you change your story to change your life.
Yeah, I think it was all my work with sound healing and yoga was where I started to be able to change my story. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure, for sure. Really tuning into myself. Before that, I was just go 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 do do do, as you can see. I mean, I've done all this stuff, but it was always
That's an
I
awesome
never.
style. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I never stopped to really think, or think isn't
Mhm.
the right word, to really feel what was going on, and to know me, who am I,
Yes.
what am I? So it was my journey with yoga and sound healing that really changed my mindset
Mhm.
and brought me to this point right here.
How
Yeah.
did you get into that? How did you get into yoga and the sound healing and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I've always had an interest in yoga, and I did a little bit here and there. And when my
Did you do it in
kids were,
Japan?
yeah, actually,
Oh
I had,
wow.
interestingly, I had a friend from Australia that was really into sports, amazing person, and she was teaching a yoga class, so I would go to her yoga classes.
Nice.
Um, and then when after I moved back here, I started taking some classes when my own two kids were little, like two little infants, and I started working full time eventually, and just couldn't do it, raising a family and working full time. I was like, okay, something's got to go, and it was, unfortunately, it was the yoga class that got cut.
Oh,
And then those about 5 years ago was when, at my desk, going through my school email, and there was this email that said, from a local yoga studio, said, buy 1 month, get 1 month free for the summer. And our summer vacation is only 2 months here.
perfect.
So it was perfect. Yeah. So I signed up and I started going to this yoga class. It was taught by a gentleman who was from India. Absolutely amazing, amazing teacher. And, you know, in the summertime, you would think as a teacher that my goal would be to sleep in and to take it easy.
Yeah.
I went to his 6 a.m. classes
Oh
every
wow.
day,
That's
every single
hardcore.
day. It was
Wow.
crazy. But that's how much I loved it. It was just like I couldn't get enough. I just could not get enough. So I would go to his class in the morning, partway through the afternoon, I'd be like, I need to go back to yoga. And I was taking 10, 12 classes a week at that place for the summer.
Wow.
Um, Definitely worth my buy 1 month, get 1 month free
Oh, you
pass.
get your money's worth for sure. Yeah.
He probably lost money on me.
Ah. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
Now,
so yeah, that's how I got started. Mhm.
awesome, awesome. Now that's a perfect segue. Now tell us more about your business and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so my business has a couple of different sides. One, I have personal client or private clients. So right here, and this is my little sound healing room right here, and people will come as individuals. They have a specific purpose or intention, that's something that they would like to work through. It could be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual side that they would like to work on. And then I use the instruments, the vibrations, the sound vibrations to help heal those
Hmm.
areas. So it's something physical. I can work directly with the muscles and that type of thing, with different types of instruments to release like tension and from the body, as well as, you know, um, yeah, I haven't had this series of a client before, but the instruments can heal even serious diseases such as cancer. It
Really?
changes the
Wow.
cells, actually works with the cells and changes the cells of the body. So that's
Is it,
one side. Yeah.
is it because everything in the universe is all about energy and frequency? And if you can tune into the right frequency, you can either heal or break something, you know?
Exactly, exactly, and that's exactly what happens. Is that we all experience some type of trauma in our life, and bigger types of trauma, maybe divorce or you know abuse or just challenging things in our lives, something that, or even as when you're a child, maybe a teacher said something to you that the teacher might not have realized how hurtful it was, but you're still carrying around that feeling, right? So that those types of trauma I can hear in the vibrations of the bowls. So I can, some people come and be just like, I'm feeling kind of just like, and I can't really put my finger on it. And I'm like, that's all right. I'll use the bowls. So I'll use especially the Tibetan singing bowl, because it has lots of overtones
Oh,
and it
wow.
reacts to the energy of the body. So then
Wow.
I can find out if there's been trauma, there'll be a difference in the vibration of their energy in that in certain areas. So I can use any of the instruments to heal the dis-ease or disease of the body of the people. So that's one side of my business. The other side is I have a program that is specifically for teachers, new teachers, first year teachers that are having are challenged being in the classroom for the first year. They have, they feel like an imposter. They have imposter syndrome. They're losing their confidence, so or they just are picking up on all the stress around them where from teachers that have been there forever. They're like, might have some negativity. Amazing teachers, but behind the scenes may not be as positive, as we would like to think we all are. So I help these new teachers to bring calm into the chaos, find their calm, find their peace, find their confidence, and just being able to, once they're able to accomplish that, they can really shine their light in the classroom, right? Because that's what they're there for. They've been called to be a teacher and to be the beacon of light for these children, whether it's elementary or
Absolutely.
high school, right? And so, but if they're all stressed out and they're like feeling down or feeling negative, feeling like they're, shouldn't be there, that's really hard to shine your light. So, using these different instruments and yoga and some strategies that I learned as an empath to protect my energies and not take on so much stuff, in the schools. So using those things to inspire the teachers and help them with their, shining that light.
That's amazing. Wow, love that. Now, who would you say is your ideal client?
The ideal client. Yeah, I think a new teacher, whether first year teacher especially, but here in the States, the U.S. Department of Education says that 50% of teachers quit their job within the first 5 years
Why is that?
because of the stress, because of not having enough support or whatever. I mean, there's so many reasons. It's just overwhelming. It's a hard job. It's a hard job.
Especially back here in North America, Canada, and the US, the lack of discipline, the lack of respect from the students toward the teachers, that can be an issue. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, so what I so my goal is to help those new teachers find their confidence and find, things don't have to be 100% perfect when they start their class, right? As a new teacher, you want everything to be lined up and everything to be absolutely perfect and, every little PowerPoint to be,
Yes.
super. I've done it. I know. I've done it myself. And so
Hmm.
really helping those young and not even necessarily young. I
That's
see a lot of
amazing.
teachers, in their 30s or 40s jumping into the profession as well, but just helping people find that place, that mindset within themselves so that they're able to show up for their students, they're able to show up at faculty meetings, they're able to show up positively for their home life, and just really be positive and be with themselves, be with their family when they're with their family, and not like grading papers, which I also did as well. Grading papers, I'm like, oh yeah, that's really cute, kiddo. And over here grading papers doing something else. So try to get away from that double duty and just feeling the
That's
moment.
amazing. Now, are you doing that on your own, or are you trying to reach out to, say, the school boards around you, the school districts, and even the government? Because what you're doing is absolutely vital for a teacher, as far as support. And in an ideal world, the government should be able to offer that kind of training themselves to the teachers, but they're not, because we're not living in an ideal world. And that's why amazing people like here come into play. So have you started reaching out to these government and school district boards? And if yes, how was the reception to that?
Yeah, I personally have not yet done that. I've been working with the programs just individually
Mhm.
and really building my clients that way. Um, I know that there are programs out there bringing mindfulness into schools.
Mhm.
So it really kind of depends on how that is brought in. So there's, and the area, I mean, we're so diverse, across the
Sure.
states, across North America. There are some areas that will say, mindfulness, we don't need that here, or meditation. If you say the word meditation, it has a different feeling than if you said mindfulness, and it might be the
Mhm.
same thing, but just changing the wording. Um, yeah, so I have not yet done that, but it's definitely on my goal list of things to do.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Because that would be something, not just a win-win, it would be a no-brainer. That's
Yes,
a prime example of a no-brainer for both all parties involved: the students, you, the schools, the
yes,
teachers, and the board of education. I mean, I'm sure that you
yes.
will reach that, and I'm cheering for you. God is cheering for you. Universe is cheering for you. So
Thank
keep
you.
shining your light on that. Awesome. So tell us, share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation that you've seen from someone that you've helped with your business so far,
Yeah.
whether it's with your,
Um,
the sound healing or even with the teacher program you have. Just share with us one
right.
example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen.
Yeah, I have one client in particular that's coming to mind, and she came to me. It was purely we did sound healing together, and she was just for what, down and out, man. Having a
Hmm.
rough time of it with her roommate, with her family, parents, acceptance of who she is.
Hmm.
And so when I started working with her, um, using the sound instruments, the different vibrations to work through those, smooth over those areas within her aura, her energy centers um, that were not vibrating because of the trauma that she had experienced.
Hmm.
Um, the the thing about her was that she did her homework, and
Hmm.
that may sound funny, but in between sessions, I give this all of my clients a little bit of homework, and it's usually something pretty simple, but always working with sound vibrations to tune their body throughout the week, or help the body remember the vibrations that were brought to them during our session. And interestingly, the body has everybody's body has its own scale.
Hmm.
So my root note will be different than your root note. And once you find what that root note is, then you have a scale and you can sing that scale. So if I sing the note that is for my heart, like if I'm feeling bad or my throat hurts or something like that, I can sing the note or hum that note, and it uses the vibrations to heal that area. So our bodies are able to heal themselves in that matter. So I worked with this client and gave her this, found her scale, and she
Hmm.
would work on humming though and chanting that tone that was needed to help herself heal that area. So in between sessions, she was working on that, and 4 sessions, 4 weeks, complete transformation. She was
Wow,
able to
phenomenal.
talk with her parents, talk with her roommate. She was just like a different person. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel when you see such a transformation in front of your eyes?
Yeah. It's really amazing. It's, being able to bring that peace to people, and
Hmm.
that sense of calm, and just being with themselves, and and knowing, starting to understand who they are. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a great feeling. It's not really about me though, it's really
Yes,
just being able to bring that to people. Just an amazing thing. Yeah.
absolutely. Now, you said something that's powerful. You said it's not about you, it's about seeing transformation, about helping others. That's a perfect segue to the next to the question I want to ask you is about cause. The theme of this podcast is lead it with a heart, that is people are building impactful businesses. What would you say is a cause that you're deeply passionate about?
A cause. Yes.
Like for me, as I
Yeah.
say, that's education. I'm going to be, as I said, launching a product for every 3 units I sell. I will be, my partner will be sponsoring a kid's education for 1 year on basically taking a kid from the streets and putting him in schools in India, because I believe that children are the future, especially and it starts with education. So that's what I'm passionate about, among many other things. What about you?
I believe I'm also, very passionate about education and being able to offer these services for the teachers to be able to bring that light to the students, um, and offering even yoga classes for kids and teens that need that sense of calm themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely my cause is to help those kids, help the kids. It's all about the kids, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we all come here for a reason, for a mission. What would you say is your reason, your mission for being in this planet at this time?
Yeah. I think I'm working on my mission right now, and that is to bring that light and for people to connect with each other, to connect with the
Hmm.
universe, to really find that positivity and
Hmm.
be themselves and be confident in themselves. That's definitely my mission.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Now, let me ask you now some fun questions. As I told you earlier, we can have multiple shows just talking because there's so much more that we can talk. We haven't even scratched the surface so far. We can do an entire season just on Japan and living in Japan and stuff like that, of teaching there, difference and all that. But that's another story. But let's wrap things up, and I'm gonna ask you some couple of fun questions now. Imagine that you add a time machine, and you can go back in time and sit face to face with the 18-year-old Molly. What would be the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now? Or what would be the
Oh,
advice you wish someone had given you when you were 18?
oh, when I was 18, go for that music degree. Just do it. Follow your heart. You don't have to
Yes.
know. You don't have to know what's on the other side. As long as you're following your heart,
Hmm.
it will all fall in line. What you need to be doing. What needs to happen will
Absolutely.
happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Following your heart at times might not be the easiest choice, but once you do it, it's the one that's going to make you the most fulfilled, the happiest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it's all about purpose. What I've learned after living in all these countries around the world is that, especially in the Western world, we lack something that is vital. Most people lack what is vital, and that is purpose. We chase the wrong things, which is money, material things.
Yes.
Even if it's say you want a bigger house, a bigger car, the latest phone, or whatever, once you get it, it's just like any toy. You're gonna get tired of it after a week or two,
Yep.
and then you're gonna be back to square one. Say, okay, what's next? Is all
Yep.
there is to it? Will always be with a feeling of emptiness and chasing your tail, chasing the next thing, and that's not a way to live. It's not a fun way to live. It's not a meaningful way. Instead, chase passion, chase purpose. When you do that, you will be blessed with all of the things you want while doing it in a way that's making a difference, and you will feel tremendously happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Awesome. Amen to that. Now, what would you say? What is the one thing you're most grateful for?
Grateful. I am grateful for so many things. How do I narrow it down? I'm grateful for my amazing two children.
Yes.
And
Cats. Cats.
my cats, yes. I am grateful for my cats. They have taught me so many things. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They teach me a lot. I'm grateful for my health. It sounds
Mhm.
so corny sometimes, but I'm in good health for my
That's the
age.
most
I mean, I'm
important
in
thing.
good health
That
regardless
is
of
the
my
most
age.
important thing. Yes. That is the most important
Yeah.
thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, not if you're not in good health, it's hard to do anything really. So I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. You can have all the money in the world if you don't have health. I mean, one of my strong belief is that the two most valuable assets we have is our time and our health. If you lack one of these two, nothing else matters.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, cool. Now, do you have your own podcast?
I do not have my own podcast. No.
Why not?
Well, yeah, I am working on doing making recordings of my own sound healings, and we'll be putting those up. So it's a little different than a podcast per se, but doing those, so putting those out to the world so that if they're having trouble with their sleep or
Mm,
anxiety, whatever it might be, to be able to tap into those recordings and work on that independently. That's what I'm doing.
for someone like you, having your podcast is a total no brainer because it would allow you can easily build an incredible following by just bringing on the people you work with as a guest, not
Mm,
just chasing them to ask for testimonials or whatever, just having them as a guest to share the story. I can share with you after the call the example of a man in Florida who built an 8-figure business with zero ad spent using only the power of podcasting. Absolutely phenomenal and mind blowing. So,
that sounds amazing.
for someone like you, it's a no brainer. Again, as I said, it will allow you to establish an incredible following, establish you as the leader, an expert, the go to person in your field. And you can have wonderful, beautiful conversation with incredible people. And yeah, so for you is so what would you say is the number one reason you haven't started your podcast so far?
Yeah, time, time.
You know,
Need to make.
I've had over 80 people on my podcast so far, and 90% who don't have the podcast yet. That is the number one reason. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
time.
So imagine now, Molly, that you have your podcast and it's very successful. And today you have the most special guest in the world, which is yourself. You're interviewing
Oh
yourself.
God.
What would be the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind?
Um, so, what got you to this point that you are in your life right now? That would be my first question.
That's a great question to ask. Absolutely. And what would be your answer?
Yeah, I knew you'd ask that. uh, what got me to this point? Finally following my heart, which is the
Mm.
advice I was giving myself. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Speaking of advice, what would you say was the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Um, First thing that comes to mind is when I did a concert. It's kind of like a recital concert at the end of my master's degree, and I had, I did half the concert was opera, and half the concert
Wow.
was singing this totally different, Japanese folk song. And so, at the end of the concert, um, it was good. I mean, it was a good concert. I had nice little audience and
Mm-hmm.
got good feedback. But my teacher, he goes, Molly, you only gave 80%. I was like, what? So it's not really advice per se, but his perception of how much I was giving when I was on stage. So I thought, so I'm thinking of that in a way was like, people know what you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
people, that energy that I was holding back, and I know I was holding back because I was fearful. I was afraid of giving 100% and showing all of what I have. So I go back to that often and I think, okay, am I giving just 80% this time, or am I giving 100%?
Love that.
You know. Yeah, so that's, I don't know if he really meant it as advice per se, but I definitely hold
That's a
that in my mind a
that's an
lot.
amazing lesson. Absolutely.
Mm.
Are you applying that in every aspect of your life now?
I'd like to try to do that. Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
It's a daily adventure.
Absolutely. Now, what would you say was the worst piece of advice you've received so far?
Worst piece of advice. Um, worst piece of advice was to take calculus when I was
Oh,
an undergrad when I didn't need it.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. That I
That was a
agree.
that was a horrible semester. Though I had an amazing teacher. But
Hmm. Yes. One question I love asking people, and that's something that has a profound impact on myself as well, is what would you say is the smallest thing you've done which has had the biggest positive impact on your life so far? Like for me, for example, to give you an example, the smallest thing that I've done is at the most amazing impact has been starting this podcast because it allowed me to connect with incredible human being, having beautiful, deep conversation with total strangers around the world. But as soon as we connect, it's almost like we're on the same path right from the get go, and I make incredible connection with amazing people. So, what would you say for you was something that you've done that has had the biggest, most profound positive effect so far on both your life and business?
yeah, in when I was teaching at the high school, it
Mhm.
was about 2 or 3 years ago, we were given this time during the day. It's a 40-minute period where teachers were allowed to teach their passion, whatever it was. And then the students would look at all of the topics and they would choose where they wanted to go. Needless to say, maybe I chose to offer yoga and sound healing. I I partnered with the librarian who was also an incredible yogi, and she loves meditation. And so we I asked her if we could partner so she could help, and I would have 20. I said, our cap for the number of students that we'd have to have in our class would be 20 in my class and 20 in hers, and we would combine them for 40 students, have all the kids in the library, and we'd go through meditation and do yoga and do a little bit of sound healing all in this 40-minute period. Something happened with the sign up sheet. It was all online. I don't know why it happened. I had 70 kids sign up for the class, and they were coming to my classroom saying, "Wait, Miss Adkins, your yoga class is completely full. Can you just let me in? Can you let me in? Can you please let me in?" It's like, I can't do that. I can't just let people in. And not only that, it's already 30 people over capacity. So we did that for an entire semester. Every 6 weeks, I believe, we switched. So kids were taking, new kids would come in, some kids would go out and do something else. But I still have students that were at that time that, if I see them in town or something, they still like, I love that yoga class. That
Wow.
was the most amazing thing. Kids were asking for my my playlist that I was playing as the music in the background. And I'm like, can I
Wow.
have your playlist? I mean, have you ever had a teenager ask you for your playlist?
Were you playing some of your own musics? You should have.
No, that would have been great. I should have, yeah.
Yes. Wow. That's
But yeah,
fabulous. Listen, Molly, we can talk for hours and hours. Love your
sure.
passion, love your mission. But let's wrap this up. Do you have any parting tips for anyone watching?
Tips.
Any parting tips,
Ah,
words of wisdom?
yeah, my words of wisdom would be to continue to take those deep breaths throughout the day when you're starting to feel a little stressed out or
Hmm.
things feel a little astray, is to take that deep breath and tune in back into yourself. Everything you need is right here in the heart.
Absolutely. Amen. We
Mm.
need to listen more to our gut feelings. Yes. To our hunches.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love that. So if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook with Molly Adkins, or Molly's Sound Wellness is my business
Mm-hmm.
page. I also, email is Molly's Sound Wellness at gmail.com.
Okay. Awesome. Listen, Molly, I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Love your mission, your passion. You have a fabulous journey so far, very rich. Especially living in Japan. That's something that I would like to do in the future as soon as we're able to do so again. So we'll definitely keep in touch. We'll more than likely do a part two in a few weeks, a few months, because there's still so much more we haven't even touched yet. So I
Yes.
salute you once again. You're a tremendous person. I'm honored to have connected with you. And stay safe, stay awesome, keep shining your light. God bless, my friend. Take care. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
so
day.
much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All
Take care.
right.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.